Greetings, and let's go and see what Mr. Jones has been lying about and pushing misinformation about this week. Once again, he has been pushing his fantasy of no fuel in jet aircraft. Mr. Jones has obviously watched this video on YouTube, where a documentary team follow a Lufthansa Airbus through a service check. The commentary on this documentary is for an American audience and is rather over dramatized, and they do get some points of information wrong, but Mr. Jones is clearly cherry picking, and the material he cherry picks is a tank entry to try and push his fantasy of no jet fuel in the wings. Boy, is he wrong. The documentary team follow this Airbus Industries A330 Series 300 Airbus operated by Lufthansa through a major check, which is carried out I think every 6 years, and covers all sorts of the maintenance involved. There are two ways we can verify this aircraft to be an A330-300. Firstly, we can observe the registration number at the rear of the aeroplane, which gives us the nation's identifier letter or number. In this case, it's D for Germany. And in case of the German registrations, it's followed by 4 other letters. And in this case, it's Alpha India Kilo Romeo. With a quick Google search with that registration number, Google soon brings up the information on that aircraft, and it confirms it's an A330-300. Secondly, not all airlines display it, but somewhere on the fuselage is the make and model of the aeroplane in question, and in this case it is up the front, just behind the front door, just behind the flight deck. Airbus A330-300. Airbus originally offered the A330 in 2 variants, the -200 and the longer -300. The -200 had a longer range because it benefited with the centre wing box area being used as a fuel tank. Originally the -300, that area of the aircraft was never used as a fuel tank, but now Airbus are now offering the -300 to customers with the ability to use the centre section of the wing as the additional fuel tank. And Airbus also offering existing customers with the -300 to modify their aircraft to use that centre tank area if required. Originally the -300 was being offered with a fuel capacity of only 97,530 litres. The optional centre tank provides a customer with an extra 41,500 litres of fuel, bringing the -300's maximum fuel capacity up to the same quantity as the -200 of 139,090 litres, which equates to just over 109,000 kilograms, 109 metric tons. So just to let everyone know where we are and the orientation, etc., etc. Right, this diagram shows where the centre wing box is fitted. Now, this way is towards the nose of the aircraft, and the centre wing box is fitted between the aircraft fuselage frame 40 and frame 47. This centre wing box provides a cantilever attachment point for both the wings and distributes their load into the fuselage, and it also, in the case of a 200 series A330, a fuel tank as factory fitted. In the case of a -300, not used as a fuel tank, but now being offered as an optional extra. So all an operator has to do is activate the system and carry out a few other minor mods to use it to conform with today's current standard for aircraft fuel tanks, which involves a system of filling as the fuel is used, to replace it with nitrogen enriched air to lessen the chance of combustion of fuel vapor. Now, frame 40 is here, which is the front spar of the wing box. Frame 47 provides the rear spar of the wing box, and in the middle we have a center spar. And internally we have strengthening rods which are made out of carbon fiber. Behind the wing box, in this area here, we have the landing gear. So hopefully we now are familiar with where the center wing box is. Access to inside the fuel tank is through two triangular shaped panels accessed from here from the wheel bay, and we shall see that shortly. And here is a quick recap of the center wing box area. If you look at the top left hand picture, you might notice the rods in the angling down from the floor. In the video there'll be the blue coloured rods. They are there to provide strengthening of the structure. With these two diagrams of the schematics for a 330-200 and a 330-300 fuel system, we can see what modifications an existing operator of the 330-300 would have to make to activate that center fuselage area into the tank, same as the 200. Firstly, they would have to introduce a couple of transfer pumps in order to get the fuel out of the tank into the fuel system feed to the engines. And we also have a few other bits and bobs to add into the system. We have to have the center tank inlet restrictor valve, where the fuel will enter the tank from the refuel manifold, and a couple of other valves added into the system for transfer, etc., etc. So in the bigger picture, a reasonably small mod, but as I understand, no current operator of the 330-300 has introduced into their fleet the usage of this area as an operational fuel tank. So you say, why are they in there filming this documentary? Well, probably because there was a bigger open area than the wings, and the documentary film crew equipment may have been easier to get in and out of the center tank area than the wing. The engineers have to go in there to do routine inspections and to make sure there are no hidden leaks in all this pipework that still goes through this empty, dry area, and any issues have to be rectified. Let's have a look at this video then. Here's a clip from a video that is quite early on in the documentary that Mr. Jones fails to show in his little fantasy land of no fuel in aircraft video. Strangely, it shows what goes on in the tank, to the tank, before the inspectors get there. Let's have a look.
Another task for the mega pit stop. Checking the outer shell for damage caused by bad weather. Even the tiniest bit of damage from hail or lightning can pose a safety threat. At the same time, under the plane, mechanics are bleeding the fuel tank, so they can inspect it from the inside later on.
I wonder why Mr. Jones excluded that little clip from his video. So probably about something about cleaning the tanks. Anyway, just to get you familiar with where we are, these guys are actually physically in the undercarriage bay looking forward, and these are the removed access panels on the left hand side and right hand side of the undercarriage bay forward into the center wing box area to gain access for inspections internally of that fuel tank area. All the pumps and crossfeed valves and wiring too are external of the tank here in the wheel bay. The wiring you may see inside the tank will be going to the tank quantity sensors and densiometers, etc. Just the tanks, the fuel sensing probes. Shall we carry on? Listen to the rubbish Mr. Jones has to say for himself.
I'm going to give full credit to this channel down here, and I'm going to leave a link. It's really good, and I can highly recommend watching the full documentary. It's got some great footage of the wings. It's got a section here on the engine being removed. But what I'm interested in here is the fuel tanks. Now he's going to go in under here, yeah, and he's going to look this way. But let's just play it. And as I say, let's.
No, Mr. Jones, he's not going to look into the wing.
Let's see what he.
There is still one dangerous job left to do. Cleaning and checking the fuel tank, a job that risks suffocation or explosion. The fuel tanks are located in the wings and at the bottom of the fuselage. If they contain any foreign bodies, these could rub against the tank and cause corrosion. And corrosion could cause fuel loss.
So this is looks like the where the wheels go on under here, and this bit's hollow, and obviously this is the bulkhead where all your stuff is stored and whatnot.
No, Mr. Jones, that void you're looking at is the undercarriage bay where the wheels go.
Right, now this is their fuel tank that they're telling you is the fuel tank. So when they fill it up, yeah, there's electrics and stuff knocking about, yeah, but this is the hole. So you're telling me all the air, all this liquid fuel has to come flying through here and flying back out again, yeah? Because these are the holes that go through these ribs. It's just a joke, but anyway, I'm going to play it.
What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about, Willis?
No, Mr. Jones, the fuel doesn't go in and out of those great big triangular holes. They are access holes where the access panel has been physically removed so a human being can get into the tank to inspect it. Oh, what and why, Mr. Jones, would fuel be why would you want to put fuel into the undercarriage bay? Are you completely bonkers? Have yet to get inside the tank. Please pay attention, Mr. Jones. You were supposed to have watched this, but you're cherry picking as usual, aren't you? Trying to push your madness, your fantasies.
A bit more.
Basically, Piney, I'm going in to do an inspection. All right. So let's do this.
The area.
Bear in mind, they've just said this has got thousands and thousands of litres of jet A fuel, which is highly flammable at the beginning. Not even a mask. I mean, think about COVID-19, yeah? is going to breathe in, or even if they've allegedly cleaned it all out, there'll still be residue liquid in the troughs and all the rest of it. Couple of gloves, no equipment on a bugger all, and all this is exposed here. So if he's got a rat, he could get rashes and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, this diesel's lethal, and that's the same stuff that this Jet A is made of. Anyway.
That Ruben is climbing into is normally filled to the top with fuel. That's over 200,000 liters.
You did hear that right. 200,000 litres of liquid Jet A fuel.
Fumes, darkness, cramped conditions. You have to be a special person to take on this kind of job.
It's not fair. I'm planning to get fat, you know, because it's not.
But again, I mean, just look at this. This is a tank designed to carry all these tons of liquid fuel. And when you see down the bottom, look for any residue. Bear in mind,
Not fair. It's always me. You know,
You have to get
it's not,
fat.
it's not nice being the skinny guy inside the engines.
You have to get fat and get old.
Okay, if you're feeling a bit lost, not too sure where we are in the tank, well, we are in the centre wing box. And Ruben, while he was chatting with his colleague who's outside the tank, would have been sat or stood in this area of the tank in this direction, because that way in this diagram is forward. In this diagram, to complicate things, forward, we're looking that way. Ruben's colleague is talking to him through the access hole from the undercarriage bay, and we know the undercarriage bay is behind the aeroplane, and it was that access point there which is that access point. So Ruben is somewhere here. These are the carbon fibre rods. That provide strength to the tank. Well, should I say additional strength to the tank. So shall we carry on now with Mr. Jones's waffle? We are definitely not in the wing.
Right down here, right? How did they get all of the liquid out of all these troughs? Yeah, they just go up and down, up and down. What were they in there for hours with kitchen roll and stuff, just wiping it all up? It's absolute bollocks. There's no way on earth there's liquid fuel in these wings. And these guys know it, but anyway, I'll play a bit more.
Yeah. So yeah, I have to inspect everything, every corner, every rivet, every high lock, everything, correct assembly, because the fuel tank is quite critical. So yeah, I have to.
You're not mishearing this. They are saying this is where the 200,000 gallons, or what? Sorry, liters. This is a fuel tank.
Make sure it's as clean as possible. Chris.
Yes.
I'm moving on to the inner tank. Can you please hand me the...
And again, down here, no liquid, no visible signs, and it's all up and down, up and down, up and down. It's just a joke. These are all the air ducting, yeah, that will come off the engine to feed the cabin with all the air and stuff, yeah.
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?
Seriously, Mr. Jones. Hot air pipes inside a fuel tank. You do appreciate what you need to start a fire, do you not? There are 3 things you need for a fire, for combustion to happen. That is a fuel source, a heat source, and oxygen, or an oxidizer. So what sane person would put a hot air source into a fuel tank, Mr. Jones? Reality is that pipework is part of the fuel feed system.
30 centimeters tall.
There's another good shot, yeah? Just showing you these up and down, up and down. Not a drip, not a drop, yeah? Somebody said, oh yeah, but they go in with compressed air and blow it all out. And I'm like, what a load of bollocks. They're just full of it, these people.
Okay, just to get our orientation where Ruben is now in the tank. He has climbed, or he's climbing through the centre spar into the forward section of the wing box area, which is this area here. Remembering he entered through from the undercarriage bay into the wing box here. So he is this area. This is the centre spar. Of the wing box, and up here would be the forward spar, which would be, if we remember, was frame 40.
One thing Ruben always has with him on board, a strange feeling in his stomach.
Here, to be honest, because yeah, if something happens.
Then another good shot, like, look, get right in there, yeah? And I think, well, where's all these baffles that they keep telling us? Oh yeah, they've got all these special baffles and pumps that pump all to keep the aircraft from the fuel being too much one side, too much the other. Where's all the baffles and stuff? This isn't a baffle. This is structural.
Well, Mr. Jones, you say, where are the baffles? Well, you obviously don't know what you're looking at, because you've just seen Ruben here climbing through this, which is the centre spar, and this acts as a baffle. This reduces the amount of fuel going forward. The aircraft decelerates, and the amount of fuel going rearwards when the aircraft accelerates. These diagrams illustrate how the wing is constructed. You've got fore and aft ribs spaced out, as you can see in this lower left hand picture. These form the baffles to the tanks and the internal division between tanks themselves. The two images on the left are showing the wing box area only. That is minus the leading edge and trailing edge areas of the wing. The Airbus A330 and the Airbus A340 share a common wing. And the next little video will go inside the A340 wing.
Norman Winter has the most dangerous job. His workplace for today, the interior of the left wing. Where Norman is now crawling, there are usually more than 50,000 litres of kerosene. Once that's drained, it's ventilated for 2 days. Only then are specially trained employees like Norman allowed in. Step 1, vacuum off the last remaining kerosene.
What was that? Wow! Did they say vacuum up the last bit of kerosene? Well, Mr. Jones, we better watch that little bit of video again, mustn't we? I think your little fantasy has just been busted.
Step 1. Vacuum off the last remaining kerosene.
Well, you can clearly see how internally the wing is divided up into small compartments by the ribs that provide, which act as the baffles in the tank to lessen the sloshing effect of fuel during the flight and aircraft maneuvers. And you can clearly see how claustrophobic the internal space of these wings are. Well, that wraps it up for another one. And let's finish off with the video of extracting fuel from a wing tank to do a fuel sample, shall we? And then after that, we'll listen to that lovely sound of fuel being pumped on board a 737. Well, thanks for watching. Take care, people.